What about your dad? Growing up, what did you learn about life from your father?
I think my father's sense of humor is sometimes underappreciated. So he had an amazing and has an amazing sense of humor. He loved music. I think my mom loved music as well, but my father always used to say that in another life he would have been a Broadway musical producer, which is hilarious to think about. But he loves music. I, I
That is funny to think about.
Right? He does. Now he DJs at Mar-a-Lago. So
Nice.
people get a sense of, he loves Andrew Lloyd Webber and all of it, Pavarotti, Elton John. I mean, these were the same songs on repeat my whole childhood. So I know the playlist.
Probably Sinatra and all that too.
Loves Sinatra, loves Elvis. A lot of the greats. So I think I got a little bit of my love for music from him, but my mom shared that as well. I think one of the things, in looking back, that I think I inherited from my father as well is this sort of interest or understanding of the importance of asking questions, and specifically questions of the right people. And I saw this a lot on job sites. So I remember with the old post office building, there was this massive glass-topped atrium. So heating and cooling the structure was like a Herculean lift. We had the mechanical engineers provide their thoughts on how we could do it efficiently and so that the temperature never varied. And it was enormously expensive as an undertaking. And I remember one of his first times on the site because, he had really empowered me with this project, and he trusted me to execute and to also, rope him in when I needed it. But one of the first time he visits, we're walking the hallway and we're talking about how expensive this cooling system would be and heating system would be. And he starts stopping and he's asking duct workers as we walk what they think of the system that the mechanical engineers designed. First few, fine, not great answers. The third guy goes, "Sir, if you want me to be honest with you, it's obscenely overdesigned. In the circumstance of a 1,000-year storm, you will have the exact perfect temperature if there's a massive blizzard or if it's unbearably hot, but 99.9% of the time you'll never need it. And so I think it's just an enormous waste of money." And so he kept asking that guy questions, and we ended up overhauling the design pretty well into the process of the whole system, saving a lot of money, creating a great system that's super functional. And so I learned a lot, and that's just one example of countless. That one really sticks out in my head because I'm like, oh my gosh, we're redesigning the whole system.
Mm-hmm.
We were actively under construction. So it was, but I would see him do that on a lot of different issues. He would ask people on the work level what their thoughts were, ideas, concepts, designs. And there was almost like a Socratic sort of first principles type of way he questioned people, trying to get down to sort of trying to reduce complex things to something really fundamental and simple. So I try to do that myself to the best I can. And I think it's something I very much learned from him.
Yeah, I've seen great engineers, great leaders do just that. You see Elon do that a lot, which is basically ask questions to push simplification. So
Yeah.
can we do this simpler? And like, why? The basic question is like, why are we doing it this way? Can this be done simpler?
Yeah.
And not taking as an answer that this is how we've always done it. Sort of not allowing yourself like, it doesn't matter that's how it was done it. What is the right way to do it? And usually the simpler it is, the more correct the way.
Yeah.
Has to do with costs, has to do with simplicity of production, manufacture, but usually simple is best.
And it's oftentimes not the architects and the engineers. It's, in Elon's case, probably the line worker who sees things
Yes.
more clearly. So I think making sure it's not just that you're asking good questions, you're asking the right people those same good questions.
That's why a lot of the Elon companies are really flat in terms of organizational design, where the anybody on the factory floor can talk directly to Elon. There's not this managerial class, this hierarchy where it has to travel up and down the hierarchy, which large companies often construct this hierarchy of managers where no one manager, if you ask them the question of like, what have you done this week? The answer is like, it's really hard to come up with. Usually it's going to be a bunch of paperwork.
Yeah.
So you like nobody knows what they actually do. So when it's flat, you can actually get as quickly as possible. When problems arise, you can solve those problems as quickly as possible. And also you have a direct, rapid, iterative process where you're making things simpler, making them more efficient, and constantly improving. So yeah. It's interesting when large, I mean, you see this in government. A lot of people get together, a hierarchy is developed, and that somehow, sometimes it's good, but very often it just slows things down. And you see great companies, great companies, Apple, Google, Meta, they have to fight against that bureaucracy that builds, the slowness that large organizations have. And to still be a big organization and act like a startup is the big challenge.
It's super difficult to deconstruct that as well once it's in place, right? It's circumventing layers and asking questions, probing questions of people on the ground level is a huge challenge to the authority of the hierarchy. And there's tremendous amount of resistance to it. So it's how do you grow something, and in the case of a company, in terms of a culture that can scale, but doesn't lose its connection to sort of real and meaningful feedback. It's not easy.
I've had a lot of conversations with Jim Keller, who's this legendary engineer and leader, and he has talked about like you often have to kind of be a little bit of an asshole in the room, not in a mean way, but like it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like a lot of these questions, they're uncomfortable. They break the kind of general politeness and civility that people have in communication. When you get a meeting, like nobody wants to be like, can we do it way different? Everyone wants just to like, this lunch is coming up, I have this trip planned on the weekend with the family. Everyone just wants comfort. When humans get together, they kind of gravitate towards comfort. Nobody wants that one person that comes in and says, hey, can we like do this way better and way different? And everything we've gotten comfortable with, throw it out.
Not only do they not want that, but the one person who comes in and does that puts a massive target on their back and is ultimately seen as a threat. I mean, nobody really gets fired for maintaining the status quo,
right?
Even if things go poorly. Mm-hmm. It's the way it was always done.
Yeah, humans are fascinating. But in order to actually do great, big projects, to reach for the stars, you have to have those people. You have to constantly disrupt and have those uncomfortable conversations.
And really have that first principles type of orientation, especially in those large bureaucratic contexts.